Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing this gorgeous Mother's Day project, and I'm going to share with you how you can use the Pinkfresh Studio Coverplate dies to create a larger scale background for a card. Today I'm creating a 5x7 card, and I'm going to be featuring the brand new Magnolia stamp layering stencils and coordinating die set along with the intricate stitched oval cover plate. Now, in last month's video, I shared how you can use your layering stencils to help you easily line up your stamped images and all of your stencils in the corner of your MISTI, and I'm going to do that again today. So I am taking the stencil with the most open area and placing that into the upper right-hand corner of my MISTI, and I'm lining up the stamp within the open areas of the stencil. Now that stencil only had open areas towards the top. So I took stencil number 2 and just verified that the bottom part of my stamp also lined up with the layering stencil. And now I can just make sure that I place not only my cardstock in that upper right-hand corner, but also every layering stencil, and I know that they're all going to line up perfectly. Now I prefer to do this because I personally don't like to take the time to line up by, like the stencil guides or along the stamped image. I just find this to be the fastest and easiest way for me. So I have stencil number 1 here, and I have Lemon Whip ink from Pinkfresh Studio, and I am doing the lightest bit of blending around the edges of these opening. I'm not even coloring the entire opening. Then I went over all of that with just a light layer of warm buff as well. And this is going to give me kind of a creamy white color to these florals. Now, once I have that stenciled, I'm going to switch out my stencil, making sure that I put it into the upper right-hand corner of the MISTI every time. And I'm going to ink the large open area of these leaves with olive ink. And once I have a layer of that ink placed over the entire stencil, I'm going to switch to a smaller blending brush and just add a little more intense ink blending along the bottom of those leaves. Now, once again, going in with the details for the florals, I'm just using the lightest layer of Lemon Whip and then a very light layer of warm buff over it. And then I'm taking an even smaller blending brush and adding the fresh pear just to kind of the center of the floral and then the base of those smaller florals. Now I'm going to add stencil number 4 here, and this is the detail layer of the leaves. And I am going in with my Evergreen ink and adding some deep rich green to these leaves, and I love the combination of olive and evergreen together. And for my 5th and final stencil, I'm going to use espresso ink on kind of the twigs or branches of these, and sweet mustard in the very center of that large floral image. And you can see the warm, creamy white that I'm left with when I remove this stencil. Now I'm gonna white heat emboss over the top of this with that stamp that I've already positioned in my MISTI. But I want to make sure that that ink is dry before I go in with my embossing powder. So I picked up my cardstock, I hit it with my heat tool, then I'm going to prep the surface with my Cottontail embossing powder tool. I'm going to ink up my stamp, which is already positioned in the perfect spot as long as I have that cardstock in the upper right-hand corner of my MISTI. So I have that inked up with my Versamark ink, and then I'm going to close this and stamp over the top of that stenciling. Now, there are a lot of ways to line up these stencils with stamped images. This is just my preferred method because I find it the quickest for me. I can just make sure that everything's in that upper right-hand corner when I stencil and then when I stamp, and I have perfect positioning every time, and I feel like this is the quickest way for me. If you prefer to stamp first and then do your stenciling over the top, you can definitely do that. So once I have that image stamped onto my cardstock, I added my white embossing powder and then I heat set that. I forgot to hit record. And then I lined up the coordinating 1-piece die and I ran that through my die cut machine, and I have all these gorgeous floral and leaf images that I'm going to kind of arrange on my craft mat here. Now, when it comes to arranging florals, I kind of like to make sure that my largest floral is my main focal image. And then I have some stuff kind of coming off of the top of that and then kind of out of the bottom of that. So I try to keep it balanced. You're going to notice that the weight of this particular arrangement is kind of towards the lower left-hand corner. Now, once I have all of that positioned where I want it, I'm going to use my Misty sticky mat. And I have this cut down to a 4¼ by 5½ inch size, and I picked up all of those images at once. Now, if you don't have a sticky mat, you can use press and seal to do this same thing. And I am just kind of using a piece of 4¼ by 5½ inch cardstock behind to kind of just play with my arrangement. Now, I decided to go ahead and add one of these foiled nested diamonds. I absolutely love these foiling shapes. I think they are gorgeous additions to any type of card. They can be modern, they can be floral, they can be traditional. I just think they are great additional pieces to add on, and they kind of add a little bit of sparkle. And now that I have my arrangement kind of figured out for my florals, I'm going to flip this entire Misty sticky mat over, and I am going to add foam adhesive to the back of this entire arrangement, and this is going to hold it all together as one piece. And then I can work with this one large piece kind of as an embellishment on the front of my card, rather than trying to fumble with all the individual pieces. So now I have these letters, and I have die cut them using the Leah's Ornate Uppercase and Leah's Ornate Lowercase letters from some white cardstock, and I am adding some adhesive just to the bottom portion of these letters and fixing them kind of halfway onto the edge of this vellum here. Now, the vellum is serving two purposes. It's holding all of my letters together, and it's also going to give me a place to stamp my sub-sentiment. And the sub-sentiment that I'm using today is from the Dahlia Washi tape stamp set. And it says, "There's no one quite like you." And I'm going to heat emboss it on that extra vellum that's kind of hanging down from that mom sentiment that I created with the die cut letters on that piece of vellum. So I prepped the vellum with my powder tool. I inked up my stamp with some Versamark ink, stamped my image onto the vellum, and then I added my white embossing powder, and now I'm heat setting that. And once that's heat set and cooled off, I'm going to take it over to my trimmer and just trim off some of this excess. So now I have kind of this banner piece that I can add to my cardstock. Now I have all of these elements and they're absolutely gorgeous, but it was at this point that I felt like my card was too small for all that I had going on. So I have a piece of cardstock that measures 10 inches by 7 inches, and I'm scoring it along the 10-inch side at 5 inches, and that's going to create my 5x7 folded card base. And I also have a piece of ivory cardstock cut to 4 by 6 inches, and I am going to use this Intricate Ovals cover plate from Pinkfresh Studio. It's designed for an A2 size card, but I'm going to show you how you can use it on a piece of cardstock that's a little larger in order to create some larger scale cards. So I have this lined up. Part of it is sticking off of the top of my cover plate, but I'm going to hold it in place with some scrapbook.com mint tape, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Now you're going to see that there's a portion of this cardstock that didn't get any design on it, because it's hanging off the top of the cover plate. I'm going to just remove the adhesive that was holding that in place. And then I'm going to take this piece and kind of flip it over onto that cover plate. And you're going to feel it kind of click into place with the design that's already there. So I'm kind of shifting this up and just making sure the design that's already die cut into the cardstock is lining up with the die. So I'm kind of scooching it up until I feel it kind of lock into place. And then I'm going to use that same adhesive and just wrap it around to the back of the die once again. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine once again. And the portion that previously had no die cutting on it will then get that pattern kind of die cut into it. And I have a full 4x6 piece of cardstock here that has that design all over it. And this is going to serve as the backdrop for this element that I've already created. So I'm going to take that die cut piece of 4x6 ivory cardstock, and I added some foam adhesive to the back. And now I'm adding it onto my 5x7 card base. And then I'm going to remove the backer on all of the adhesive that's on this gorgeous floral element that I created. And I'm going to position that kind of towards the lower left-hand corner of this card project. And I'm going to press that into place. And I'm going to finish off my card by adding a little bit of sparkle. So I have my Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen here, and I'm just adding a little bit of shimmer over the letters that spell out mom. And by the way, I did add 3 layers of white cardstock letters. And I also added a little shimmer towards the center and the base of the florals on this card. And that completes my gorgeous Mother's Day card. I actually made two of these, one for my mom and one for my mother-in-law. I rarely make two of the same card, but I thought this was so beautiful that I had to recreate it. I hope this card project inspired you to try to use your cover plates on a larger scale card like this 5x7 card that I created today. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, so if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. As always, I'm so glad you stopped by. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure you give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. To subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.